QQQI and JEPQ are built on the same exact foundation. Obviously, both track the Nasdaq 100, both generate some nice income from selling covered calls on that index. Both pay you monthly, which is nice. From the outside, they look like two versions of the same exact thing. One from JP Morgan, the other from Neos. But they are not the same thing, and because I didn't understand exactly how they're different, I had them in the wrong accounts for longer than I really should have. The financial cost of making that mistake was real and completely avoidable that I want to share with you today. Here's what I got wrong, what the difference actually is, and why it really changes everything about where each fund belongs in your portfolio. And a lot of people make this mistake. And let me explain how each fund really generates income first, because the method really matters more than the outcome here. And this is where I didn't pay attention to a while back. JEPQ, JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF, holds a diversified Nasdaq 100 portfolio, sells ELNs, equity-linked notes, to generate its options income. The monthly distributions you receive are classified primarily as ordinary income in a taxable account. That means they're taxed at your regular federal income tax rate, 22, 24, 32%, depending on what your bracket is. QQQI, Neos Nasdaq 100 high income ETF, takes a different approach here. It uses actual Nasdaq 100 index options to generate the same covered call premiums. Here's where the difference matters though. Nasdaq 100 index options qualify for Section 1256 tax treatment. Under that rule, 60% of the gains are taxed at long-term capital gains rate and 40% at short-term rates. The blended effective rate is meaningfully lower than ordinary income. On top of that, QQQI has historically distributed a portion of its payments as return of capital, basically income that isn't taxed at all in your year that you receive it. Same underlying index, very similar strategy, completely different tax characters on the distributions and how we get that. Here's the question that makes the placement decision really obvious that I didn't pay attention to years ago. If you're holding a fund inside a Roth IRA, does its character matter? No. Nothing inside a Roth is really taxed. Ordinary income, return of capital, Section 1256 gains, they all kind of compound at the same rate and zero tax, which is nice. So QQQI's return of capital advantage does absolutely nothing for us inside the Roth. JEPQ's ordinary income classification does nothing against you inside the Roth. Inside the Roth, both funds are just high yield Nasdaq 100 income vehicles, okay? The one with the higher yield wins, and JEPQ with roughly 11% is competitive there, though QQQI often runs higher at 13 to 14%, okay? The taxable account is where the difference becomes really financially significant. In a taxable account, every ordinary income distribution from JEPQ creates a bill this year. Every return of capital distribution from QQQI defers the tax to the future, and when you eventually pay it, potentially at a lower capital gains rate rather than ordinary income rates. In a taxable account, every ordinary income distribution from JEPQ creates a bill this year. Every return of capital distribution from QQQI defers the tax to the future, and when you eventually pay it, potentially at a lower capital gains rate rather than ordinary income rates. The rule that follows from this logic, JEPQ belongs in a Roth, where its ordinary income classification is really irrelevant and it compounds freely. QQQI belongs in the taxable account, where its return of capital and Section 1256 treatment actually saves us some money each and every single year. Let's talk about the yield gap and how it adds another layer here. And here's something that makes the QQQI versus JEPQ comparison interesting beyond just, tax questions, okay? QQQI typically yields more than JEPQ. We know that. Not marginally, but meaningfully as well. QQQI has historically run at 13 to 14%, while JEPQ closer to that 10, 11. The reason is structural. QQQI can write its options differently because it's using actual index options rather than ELN notes, okay? And Nasdaq 100 index options tend to carry higher IV, implied volatility, and way richer premiums. This means QQQI in a taxable account isn't just more tax efficient than JEPQ in the same account, it's also generating more gross income before taxes enter the picture. You're getting kind of a double advantage here, higher yield plus better tax treatments, both in the same direction. This is why the account swap really matters more here than it might seem. It's not a neutral trade where you give up yield in exchange for tax efficiency. You're getting more income and keeping more of it. Now, I do want to stress, I am not a CPA, I'm not a tax professional or anything like that. If you want an introduction to the people that I recommend, great people that I've worked with for many years. You can email me, peter@onlypeterpru.com, and I'll make an introduction for you. They're great CPAs, great with business and LLC formation. So if you're watching this video and you want help with all this tax stuff, especially with your options trading, just shoot me an email, peter@onlypeterpru, and I'll hook you up. Now, let's talk about the after-tax math a bit. And I want to put some real numbers on this so it's all concrete for us. Let's say you hold 50K of JEPQ in a taxable account, 11% yield. That's $5,500 per year in distributions, 24% tax bracket. You owe about $1,300 in ordinary income tax. After-tax income retained, around $4,200. Now hold 50K of QQQI in the same taxable account, 13% yield, $6,500 per year. If 70% of that is return of capital and not currently taxable, only around $2,000 is taxable income. At 24%, that's $468 in tax. After-tax income retained, over $6,000. Same account size. QQQI produced almost $2,000 more in after-tax income than JEPQ annually, not from higher yield alone, but from the combination of higher yield and better tax treatment. Over 5 years in the taxable account, that gap grows to over $9,000 in additional after-tax income from the same $50,000 deployed. That's not a rounding error. That's a meaningful difference created by simple account placement decisions. But let's talk about what you're giving up inside that Roth. And here's the other side of the trade really worth examining, right? When you move JEPQ into your Roth, you're putting an ordinary income fund into an account where the classification is completely neutralized, right? The tax protection the Roth provides is doing exactly the work it was designed to do. When you move QQQI out of the Roth, you're taking a tax-efficient fund out of the account where its efficiency was irrelevant and placing it in the account where that efficiency has some actual real dollar value. The Roth's protection wasn't being applied where it mattered. Now it is. The JEPQ inside the Roth compounds at the full monthly rate. Obviously no annual tax drag on the reinvestment. The compounding effect over 10 to 15 years of accumulating in the Roth adds up to a significantly larger position by retirement. The Roth does its job, the taxable account does its job. Each fund in the environment where it performs best. Look, JEPQ and QQQI cover the same market, the Nasdaq 100. They use different methods to generate income from it. And those different methods produce different tax profiles. One generates ordinary income, one generates return of capital and Section 1256 advantaged gains. The Roth doesn't care about tax character, okay? The taxable account does, but the ordinary income fund where the tax character doesn't matter, put the tax efficient fund where the tax character actually can save us some actual money. This isn't a complex strategy. It doesn't require a new account or a different asset allocation. It's the same fund and just better positions. And the financial difference over close to $2,000 per year or on a 50K invested right now in the right accounts versus the wrong accounts, right? And it really compounds into a significant really number over the holding period of most people's investment lives. I got some questions for you guys as always in the comment section. Great ones down there always. Number one, are you currently holding JEPQ in a taxable account? And have you run the annual tax costs to see what you're actually paying on those distributions? And number two, do you currently hold QQQI anywhere? And is it in the account where its tax efficiency is actually doing something for you? Let us know down below in the comment section. And if you want to be hooked up with my CPA, my people that help me with my LLC formations, then they can help you out as well. Just email me, peter@onlypeterpru. I'll make the introduction to you. Obviously, guys, nothing on this video was tax advice. This is just how I like to think through things, but I can hook you up with the people that really know this stuff in and out. Email me, peter@onlypeterpru.com. As always, guys, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.